Some foreign nationals were able to get out of Gaza today for the first time since the Israel-Hamas war started, but Canadians were not among those able to leave. Many Canadians are still waiting for their chance to get to safety, and Asia Mathkour is one of those Canadians. She, along with her parents and two children, 2-year-old Salma and 5-year-old Salam, all hold Canadian passports, but still no way to cross the Rafah border yet. And many of her family, including her husband and extended family, don't hold the foreign nationality needed to get out. Asia has been crammed in a house with her extended family near the Rafah border, and we spoke to Asia's sister-in-law, May Latif, last week. She told us that she had lost connection with Asia for a few days. Since then, Asia has been able to send some voice notes on her current situation and says she's disappointed that Canadians were not included on the list of foreign nationals able to leave Gaza today.
Honestly, I was very, very disappointed that we weren't called by Global Affairs, giving us the news to go actually and leave, not receiving an email saying, oh, it's on your responsibility and we don't guarantee that you would be able to cross, you or your family. It's very, very honestly disappointing, and it saddens me to see that we were not a priority to leave, with just like the other countries, the other nationalities were able to leave. The situation is just getting worse and worse by the minute. Today, for example, there was no bread whatsoever. All the bakeries were out of flour and out of bread. And I've heard a few of my relatives here saying that their lineups for the bakery start at 3 a.m. in the morning. Honestly, I don't know what's left. Like, what is the world waiting for? What are Canadians waiting for, to be honest? Are they waiting to hear about me? I'm dead with all my kids and my family, and oh, we're just added to the numbers. Like, what's going on? People honestly need to start moving. Everything is so scary.
Okay, we're going to speak to Asia's sister-in-law, May Latif, in just a second. But first, we want to get the very latest information we can from Egypt. The CBC's Tom Perry is in Cairo, and he joins us now with the latest. So, Tom, you spoke with Canada's ambassador to Egypt today. What do we know about the effort to get Canadians out of Gaza?
Yeah, we sat down with Louis Dumas, the ambassador, Canada's ambassador to Egypt today, and we talked for quite a while about really the efforts that are going on. Canada, of course, has been saying since the beginning of this crisis that it's been working around the clock to get its Canadian citizens out of Gaza, but right now, there's really nothing much to show for it. So I asked the ambassador, I said, why did we not see Canadian names on this first list, that list that came out last night, the people who we saw leaving Gaza today through the Rafah gate? The answer was essentially that he thought maybe this was a bit of a trial run, that this was just kind of the first day and that it's going to take time. And so in talking to the ambassador about that, you really got a sense of just how complicated the Canadians see this as, that it's not really just a matter of Canada putting forward a list and saying, okay, here's the people and now let's bring them out. There's a number of players and a number of aspects in play here that the Canadians have to address. That's really what he emphasized today, that this is complicated, that Canada keeps working at it, but obviously you speak to Canadians who are stuck in Gaza and they're still very frustrated by this. As complicated as it might be for the diplomats and for the politicians, for them, it's really a matter of life and death.
Okay, so Tom, we did see, though, people get out. So there has been some progress there. What do we know exactly about who did get out today?
Well, it was a number of foreign nationals from a bunch of different countries who got out today, as well as those people who were injured in the Israeli bombardment of Gaza. Israel, of course, has been just bombarding Gaza, ever since October 7th, when Hamas carried out that horrific attack against Israeli civilians. And that's really the whole raison d'etre, that people were moving to the south, trying to get out of Gaza all these weeks. So some people have gotten out. We've heard from the U.S. president saying he expects American citizens will be getting out as early as tomorrow. The question now remains, when are Canadians going to get out? When we spoke to the ambassador today, he says he's hopeful that will happen in the next few days. But again, you speak to Canadians in Gaza and they say they'll believe that when they see it. They want to get out right now.
Okay, Tom, thanks so much. That's the CBC's Tom Perry in Cairo. Well, as Tom says, some foreign nationals were able to get out, but Canadians were not among those able to leave. We want to check in with the family now of Asia Mathkour, who is there with her children and her parents. Her sister-in-law is May Latif. We just heard from Asia in those voice notes we played for you a little bit earlier in the show. So May, thank you so much for joining me. The first wave of foreign passport holders were able to cross the border. You heard what Tom said about the situation there. How are you feeling right now about these latest developments?
Well, it's the first time the borders are open in over 4 weeks. So, we have to say that is good news and that some individuals were able to leave. But we were disappointed that Canadians weren't on the list, especially because there was individuals from Japan, Finland, Australia, many parts of Europe that were included on the list, and they were also released with family members as well as extended family members. So we stayed up all night looking for their names on the list, and we couldn't find any area for Canada. There was Americans also listed there, and as you heard, Biden said that many Americans will be leaving tomorrow, whereas the email that Asia received had no confirmation as to when she will be leaving, and every moment, every day is another possibility that she's not going to make it. So she doesn't feel like she has that much time left. And so it was very scary for her today.
No sense of hope at all, May? I know it's hard, and I'm not trying to minimize the concerns by any stretch. But, we've heard reports there's about 8,000 foreign passport holders inside Gaza who should get out or may get out over the next couple of weeks. Is there something tangible there at all, I wonder?
Always have to hold on to hope,
yeah.
Right? So we do feel a little bit better today. The fact that the borders just opened is a sense of hope. But there's just a lot of fear. We know in the past when, there's a possibility of them leaving, things came up that challenged that. And so there's almost a fear even in the hope, like you don't want to get too excited. Yeah. We know 300 citizens left today, but we also know from the email that Canadian officials sent us from Global Affairs. I just want to read one portion of it. It says, even with Canadian passport or permanent residence PR card, we cannot guarantee that you will be allowed to leave Gaza. Some or all of your family members may not be allowed to leave Gaza. So this also means that they might be torn apart when they reach the borders. This is very scary for people who are in a highly traumatized state. Asia's scared that her husband won't be able to go and she'll have to leave with her children. There's a lot of emotions around this, and we're still confused as to why Canada's saying it's a complicated matter when other Western nations have been able to put their citizens on the list.
Yeah, and I can absolutely understand your reaction to that, because it is interesting to see that even the United States was only able to get a few people out who work for the aid agencies that are in there, right? And your point about her concern that she might have to leave her husband behind, because there are reports of families with some people born there, maybe with one child born in Europe, so they might have a European citizenship from a country there, but not the whole family. And so there's limits on who could actually get out. And that's the potential in your family right now, isn't it? Because of the sort of the mixed citizenship between Asia and who she's there with.
Yeah, I also want to highlight that the email clearly stated a few times that she has to leave at her own risk, that the Rafah border is actually considered to be unsafe, it's overcrowded, and that she won't have support even if she makes it on the other side. So there's still fear around whether that decision is safe for her because she has 2 young children. If she has to pass without her husband, who is like a protection mechanism for the family as well, and 2 of her parents who are elderly, that's also going to be very scary. So there's a lot of decisions here at play, and she's so exhausted. They're so exhausted. They've been eating very little bit, drinking very little bit. So you can imagine how the news was taken in today.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can imagine how difficult it is, and especially after the weekend where communication was lost, contact with the outside world was lost for a while as Israel started the next phase of it. You lost contact with them. Once you reconnected, I mean, how are they doing now compared to the last time we spoke when things were being rationed and it was pretty rough?
Well, it's really important to note that the communication keeps getting lost. So yesterday we were out of contact with them for about 16 hours, then it came back in. So it's continually going on and off. So there's that fear as well. They still don't have electricity. It's also really important to highlight that just a few days ago, a nearby refugee camp, which you've mentioned on your show, was bombed. Over 400 people died, and it's really close to where they are. So they're feeling that pain, they're feeling that fear. They don't know what's going to happen. 1 second ground invasion is looming, and then the other second the border's opening. So they're also in a confused state.
I think when we last spoke, Ozzy is there with her 2 children, 2-year-old little girl, Salma, a 5-year-old boy, Salam. I think it was Salma was sick. I think that's what you told me. How are the kids, how are they doing now?
So thankfully that has passed.
Okay.
They're both okay. We keep getting, it's like miraculous, the amount of like almost something really bad is about to happen to them and then things are okay. So, but we're constantly living in that state, and they definitely are as well, of like moment by moment. Could we get sick and there's not a lot of medical supplies? There's no antibiotics, for example. Could something happen now or within the next 5 to 10 minutes? So again, it's a priority to get them out as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, I don't know how quickly it would happen or exactly how it will happen, but the sense is that there may very well be a window. And I know you say it's a complicated choice. I would hope that the Canadian Embassy would have some sort of transportation there to help people who would get out. That seems like the sort of thing a government like Canada would do once they've been given notice that people can get out. For the sake of the kids, do you think Asia would make the choice to leave with them, even if everyone else can't? I know it's an impossible choice, and I can't imagine having to make it. But I just wonder with 2-year-old and 5-year-old if that's where you think it goes.
Well, they belong to a tight-knit community that believe that the safety of the children come first. And so she will have to make that decision. It will be very difficult because her children ultimately would have to leave not knowing if they will see the father again. But at this point, we're at a point that saving some individuals is the way we have to go, right? Specifically for children. So that is a decision that she would have to make on her own, but I believe she would go. And don't forget about the guilt of leaving so many behind, knowing they're stuck in a prison-like environment with little to no resources, right? So it's difficult no matter what happens, but we're happy that there's some movement there near the borders.
Well, May, we are trying to get the government of Canada to come on the show to tell us exactly what's going on. If we get answers, we'll get in touch. If you get answers, please reach out. We always appreciate it when you take the time. May Latif, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.